first staple, because despite the fact that I've been giving this presentation for a while, I wasn't outliving it at all. It was like, no, I'm good. You know, and that happens. It happens a lot of the time, but the difference is a lot of people won't admit it. I had to admit it because it affected my health, my finances, what I was doing with my career. And it was either I made the changes and kept them that way, or I kept living a lie and ended up dead somewhere, because it was either stress was going to get to me, or someone who was pissed off at me was. One of the two. I'm not trying to go out like that, to be honest. So we spend so much time planning as a result for things that don't matter. Oh, what filter am I going to use for the 6:45 Instagram story on my Snap? Which bar am I going to watch the game on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday and Saturday? Who's coming with me to this bar? What color coordination we got? Which bands, what color bands are we? Never seen anybody wear bands that just mean. You know, it's fine, you know. But how much you're going to bet on the tournament? What are you betting on the line? Oh, Wisconsin's going to win. They're not, but it's fine. You know, all of those things that we invest in that take lots of strategy and planning and energy to do, we spend time putting that in places that are going to not yield us any fruit. They don't yield anything, but we think they do. We think that a like is fruit. We think that the $200 that we're then just going to rebet on the line to lose 2 games later is fruit. We think that the person that is smiling at you at the bar because you bought that is fruit. And more times than not, it ain't. It's just not how it works. But that's the world in which we have been led to believe is the world of success, is the world of happiness, is the world of this is how I make it and get by and feel some semblance of joy and completion while I breathe air. And as a result, folks then get to be 80 and 90 years old, and that's why we have this market for bucket list movies. If we taught kids from the time they were little that they could do anything they wanted to do, and we gave them the strategies to do them, then there would not be a bucket list, because there would be life being lived from zero to the grave. If we taught folks that you should spend time getting yourself together before you get with the person that you're supposed to be with, there wouldn't be all of these second chance romantic comedies. Oh my God. The movie industry would really be out of business if we really dealt with this at the heart of it. And that's what we're going to do this evening, somewhat briefly, but we need to really kind of speak some truth to power here. We know that life is busy. We've talked about that. We also make excuses as to why we can't make the changes we want to make. So, for example, what's one change that someone's trying to make in their life right now? It could be general, because we don't want to go super deep for sake of privacy, but what's something that you're trying to work on adjusting or changing or doing differently in your life?
Be more physically active.
Okay.
Like going to the gym.
All right, so more physical activity, maybe an hour a week or a day at the gym. Anybody else? Okay, so losing weight. I'm doing that by accident right now, but it's happening. It's exciting. You know, one thing I'm trying to work on is having a day for me to do what I like. So I like Magic the Gathering. It's in my bio. I've been playing on and off since 2003. And on and off has been a problem, because when I'm playing, life is good. I have an outlet, I make friends, things are great. When I don't play, I get more stressed out than I usually am, because I usually carry some inordinate level of stress. But if all I can think about, oh, get to the next meeting, do the next assignment, do the next this, and there's nowhere to decompress from the things that are driving my day-to-day comings and goings, you know, I'm going to eventually, you know, be found under my desk somewhere, curled up in the fetal positions, like, oh, what's happening? And I don't want to be like that anymore. It's happened before. Not trying to go back there. You know, dieting, exercising, applying for a new degree program, sitting for a certification like a PMP or something like that takes effort. It takes planning. It takes energy and the wherewithal to see it through to the end. But more often than not, it's easy to find excuses. Traffic was terrible, so I went home. You passed 3 exits before the exit to the gym, and then you went 8 exits home. Excuses. Oh, this was just too late at night. I saw you shaking it around on Instagram the other night at 2:30 in the morning. This is a 9 o'clock event on the phone. You can do it at your home. Okay, that's fine. Whatever you feel. But that's the kind of thing that folks are interested in doing and have done. There are subject matter experts in excuse making that we all know. Some of us are those sneakies. And you have to look yourself in the mirror and say, self, what up, self? Why am I making excuses? Because I don't really want to do this. Okay then, end scene. But we would rather, again, take the mask, walk through the motions of, oh, okay, which way should I say I don't want to do this today? Which way should I lie to the people that I say I love, that I say I want to work with, that I say I want to do this with, and get out of this gym date, get out of this going to the bar, get out of this, get out of that. Or you could be like this dude. Here, so, would you rather just exercise for a little bit or be dead all the time? It's on you, bro. What's up? And I feel like Peter probably just went home and was like, nah, I'm good. That's the best. They just said he's got. But that's what it comes down to. It takes a very sudden action to make the decision that I want to live a life going in this direction or this direction. In fact, I was looking at my Facebook memories today, and a year ago today about this time, I was at urgent care. I was working at a job that was very stressful, on top of working on the book that I'm still working on. That was supposed to be out last year, but won't be out till next year, whatever the reason is. And my blood pressure shot up to 192 over 123. And I wrote, I wrote on Facebook at 192 over 123, I can't keep living like this. Because I reached a place where the expectations of people around me, some who loved me but didn't know how to support me through certain things, some who loved me but didn't understand the work in general, people who loved me but didn't love themselves, people who didn't love me but wanted to have supremacy over me and my actions, were all kind of running my life without me knowing it. And without me knowing it, I was letting them. Until it got to the point where I couldn't even stand up. I was that busy. I somehow got in the car and got to urgent care, and the doctor's like, listen. It happened. It was, I would say, black women doctors are the greatest. Let's just say that right now. She was like, stop. Stop. Go home and stop. And from that day, I started to make the changes that I needed to make to not let people bother me, to not let my circumstances paralyze me as much as I had been paralyzed. They still paralyze me from time to time, but I now have a support system that understands when I'm going to that place, how to work and love me through it, how to help me pull myself out of it, and how to walk away from it to get on to the next thing. So sometimes it's not the getting rid of the symptoms. Sometimes it's getting the resources you need to work these symptoms in your circle and in your corner to get to a place of resolution, of peace, of action. So this quote that I have, for me, encapsulates what it means to live a strategic life. More times than not, you don't hear that time equals life. It's always time equals money, time equals love, time equals success, time equals everything but life. Without time, you're not living. If you have no time, you have no life. If you have all the time and you're not using the time, you have all the life, but you're wasting it. So if you waste your time, you've got nothing. Once you learn to master your time, there's nothing that can stop you. You can create that wonderful technical product that's going to save money on blood testing. You can create this great American novel or blog or app or whatever it is you want to do to push world a little closer to community, real community. How many of you do to-do lists? I mean, every day you have, okay, go check the mail, vacuum. How many do what's called a dump list? How many have ever heard of a dump list? So, that wonderful new store off the corner of Gammon and Watts called At Home at the front counter has something called a dump list, a dump pad you can buy for about $5. We brought it from the South. It's a great store. You should go there. It's fantastic. But it gives you just and you can make this on your own, but it's nice to have a pad that says, I feel this. I feel overwhelmed. I feel good. And then you literally dump your feelings. Dump the things in your brain. It's almost like the Pensieve in Harry Potter, where you can stand over it. Unfortunately, you can't take a wand and pull thoughts out of your brain and watch them over again like a DVR. But you can pull those things that are blocking your brain out and put them to paper, to reorganize them, to figure out what doesn't matter and cast it aside, to combine things that have similar aims into a new to-do list item. I try to do this when I know that I'm feeling overwhelmed. It's not something I do every day, but it's very important if you're starting from scratch to have something like that to help you take stock. Did everybody get handouts here? Because we have a sheet that goes over this. Take one. No problem. And you don't have sheets. It's, oh, you have it already. It's another one by mine. I realize that you'll get it. So there are a number of questions that you need to ask yourself when you are taking stock of where you are today in your life. And the thing with creating strategies on how to live your life is not specific to, it doesn't necessarily have to be every area. You could say the way I handle money is fine. I just want to deal with my physical fitness. Or I'm already working out at the gym 3 times a week. I want to work on spending time with my family and my loved ones. It's an area where I'm lacking. So depending on how and where you want to spend your energy, there are a number of things that you need to kind of work through to give you as honest a picture as possible about where you're starting from, so that the plans you make will give you a very clear night and day image of what the vision is for what you want your life to look like from the starting point. So these are things like, have I learned something new? This is particular if you are looking at making changes in your work life. There are 3 questions that I think are very important. Those first 3. Do I love what I do? Am I helping others? And have I learned something new from the role or from someone that I'm working with in the role? You also want to find out about your relationships, because no matter what the area of life is that you want to work on, your relationships have some direct correlation to your success or your failure. One area that I work on a lot are my finances. And are the relationships regarding my finances nourishing them or damaging them? When I was in my early 20s, it was very much in the damaging category. I worked at a company where we were just hanging out on Thursday nights through Sunday nights. This continuation of the Wednesday night through Sunday night partying I had already started in college. There was like, okay, I can do 1 less day a week. That's fine. But then you start to look at those your statements coming from the bank. It's like, oh, okay, I overdrafted 6 times this month. Oops. I did it again the next month. Oops. And all your friends are doing it too, but no one has the courage to say, how about we stay in and play Scrabble tonight? It's fine. Let's drink some soda. It's all good. And it may not be as drastic as that, but if your finances are jacked because your friendships are only revolved around alcohol or eating out and doing things, and they're not actually there when your lights go out because you overdrafted 6 6 times. They're not gonna give you a place to stay, or they're not there to help you through a time where, oh, okay, well, my parents need help with me, but I can't help them because guess what? I overdrafted 6 times. What am I to do? Hey, I'll step in and help you with this. Here's some resources. That helped me understand that the folks that I was hanging out with at the time weren't for me. They were for my pockets, and they were for the enjoyment they received from me being with them, but not for my general life. You also want to look at that in your actual relationships. In my first marriage, I was surrounded and almost outnumbered by my in-laws, and if you're married, you kind of know how that can be. Sometimes, especially if you moved from a place away from your family to create a new life with someone, whether you're married or not. I've actually rinsed and repeated it here, but I love it here. The group, the support is great. The relationships are nourishing. Before, the relationships were very damaging because when you have folks that are enabling people who are broken, using broken tactics to support broken people, which we all do, then you find yourself in a position where you're trying to use ordinary, non-broken tactics to fix broken people using broken tactics. And even though it doesn't sound right when you say it, I hope it would make sense when I say that usually the person that's trying to bring normalcy to a situation like that typically loses out. Because if the majority of folks around you are like, well, this way of doing things works, and you see that in your jobs, you see that in organizations you're a part of, that the broken way wins the day if the majority thinks that way, because we believe in groupthink as a society, as a world. And that doesn't always serve us well. Ask Russia, ask Germany, ask any number of places how groupthink goes, and they'll tell you, nah, player, we're good on that. 80 years later, 60 years later, we've learned from our ways. But as individuals, we're not always that reflective. And so we pass those tendencies on to folks, either generationally down the line or horizontally to people that are coming into our circle as friends or as new family. So as I thought about those relationships, okay, they're not serving me well. They're not helping me grow. They're actually making me a worse person than when I started. How do I break out of that mold to be the person that I know I want to be when I don't have the resources that I want to have to get there? Do I let life happen to me? If your answer is no to all of these first 4, more than likely you're going to get to a place in your mind where you don't feel it's worth it to fight. You don't feel it's worth it to speak out about something that's taking place around you that you know is anathema to your values, not part of your system of living. And you get to a place where life is just happening. Oh, okay. Oh, I've got another past due bill. Oh, okay. That's great. Oh, so-and-so doesn't want to talk to me anymore because I don't go out. Oh, okay. That's fine. And you just dig yourself into a hole with every, oh, okay, that's fine, that comes, because you don't know any other way, or you can't see any other way out of the relationships and the systems that have backed you up against the wall. Now, the last one here, there are several others on the handout, but what are my unique strengths? A lot of the time, we don't know what our unique strengths are. With all the Myers-Briggs testing and all the things going on in our corporate world today, and then of course every random Facebook, oh, what kind of person are you test that you can take that takes your data, all those things. You don't actually know what your unique strengths are more times than not. In fact, I didn't know what my unique strengths were probably until about 2 or 3 years ago. I was like, okay, I know I'm a good speaker. That's not a unique strength to me. Anybody can be taught to be a good speaker if you go to Toastmasters for 18 months. Not unique to me. Oh, okay, I know how to make good friends. There's 7 billion people on the planet. Somebody knew how to make good friends somewhere along the line. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many people in some regard. Oh, okay, I know how to I like to bake. Oh, okay, there's a ton ton of bakers out there, not unique to me. What is something that I bring to the table that only I can do, that if I look at a room, no one else can bring? Okay, I can read the tone of a room and help inspire people to get somewhere. Not a skill that can be taught, unique to me. Okay, I understand how to look at a strategic plan and say, okay, these are the problems here. Let's make a plan to tackle A1 and A2 and A3. Not a skill that's very easily taught, unique to me. Okay, I know how to rock a 5-year-old to sleep. Most not playing with dinosaurs. Unique to me. Most people do it. And so as I got deeper and deeper into myself, I got the chance to face what are the benefits of being who I am. I don't think we think about that enough as people. We think, oh, okay, what did I do wrong? What's the problem with me? But in this instance, you get a chance to look at your Hall of Fame reel. What does the best me look like? What does that person do on a daily basis? What does that person say to others? What is that person doing to be at their peak, day in and day out, at his or her or their best? When you get there, you can say, okay, these are the things I want to accentuate. These are good. These are the things that can help inspire and move other folks to action. Now, I can build a plan to get me a PhD in organizational leadership. Now I can build a plan to open up a chain of bakeries in low-income communities. Now I can create a plan to become an ordained minister and serve in my church. So all of those coming together, this is, in my mind, the definition of strategic living. Once you understand where you are, your base, you are able to create, using your own wherewithal, your energy, how you create, promote, and what you allow in your life. That's strategic living. That means you're going to be saying a lot more no's. That means you're going to be cutting a lot more folks off. That means that you're going to be connecting with some people that you thought you would never connect with ever in your social circle or ever again in your life, depending on the circumstance and the person that you need in your corner to get a certain goal on your plan accomplished. It's going to mean that you have to stand up and really talk about yourself and sell yourself for the first time. I got a chance, I really skated by for a number of years just on being smart. Not on being smart or strategic or being a good person, but because, okay, you know how to answer questions on some papers. That's great. Do what you want to do. I had to really think, going back to what are my unique strengths, what makes me the best Daniel? There's no other Daniel Jamal Allen Sims on the planet, I don't think. I hope not. Anyway, it's hard enough for me there, but how do I promote what I can do to make my life better and the lives of those in my circle better? And ultimately, what you're going to allow. Now, on the second handout, the stapled handout that you got, I give you a layout on how to draft a plan, because with our time constraints, we don't have a chance to create a sample in the way that I would like. It's like a 4-hour workshop. But I will walk you through some of this new lifestyle will require. You're going to need to know your whys, create your plan, keeping track of your results, and then knowing how to alter the course based on what you find. So, in knowing your whys, this is not just about people. Knowing your whys happens when you hear that asked at a seminar or something. 90% of the time, someone's going to be like, my person of interest is my wife, my daughter, my son, my significant other, my mom, my grandma, my aunt, a teacher, someone. Not my ability to enact change, not my desire to fix this wrong that I've encountered, not my desire to see justice done for black and brown people. Sometimes you have to be a little bit more intangible in this area. Because because we are groomed to please and want to show the people that we love that we've done a thing. Mama, I made it. Look, Grandma, I did it, et cetera, et cetera. We don't think about the things that are inside of us or the tendencies that we have the ability to draw out of others that should also be driving our actions. Because again, and so being a person of faith, I watch a lot of sermons, and Michael Todd talked about in a sermon a while back, thanks to my love back here. There's a scripture in Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, to train up a child in the way that he should go, so that when he is old, they won't depart from it. One never thinks about the flip side of that, and the people who have been trained up in ways of evil or not treating people fairly, and have been set firmly on that path, and then we wonder when we see a serial killer out, or things like Christchurch, or the tram shooting, or other things, that those folks, their why is, I don't love myself. I've been taught to hate. I've been this, I've been that. Nothing to do with the mama I made it and the things that we just discussed, but their worldview has been a lot of the time, because there are some people who were brought up in perfectly good homes that just went out there and just started doing the most. But for those who lived, that we know when we hear their stories, that they lived in a bad home, they grew up with a lot of terrible and traumatic experiences happening to them, that those things inform their worldview. Those are their whys when they go out and treat people unfairly, or you get a boss that you find out was abused, and their idea of getting back at people, or to get into positions of power and take control of people's lives. It happens, see? It happens. I've lived it. It's the plot of Office Space. Again, we can put the movie industry out of business by really getting down to the heart of how do we live life well, treat people well, love people well, by just walking out a path and putting a plan to paper. It ain't that hard. But it is because the society says that it is. And we build a society that doesn't facilitate these kinds of conversations in these spaces. Second, you want to create a plan. I am a deep, deep believer in writing things down. You can ask Althea and say, we'll talk about, okay, we need to make this purchase. We need to do something coming up. Okay, once we write it down, it's a done deal. If it ain't written down, it's not a done deal. That's how I like to operate. This is something you want to be able to write down, come back to, so that you can truly do a litmus test on how successful or not unsuccessful you've been in carrying out that plan. Something I do every week with my calendar is a calendar audit. So on Sundays, I will look at my calendar for the last week and say, okay, I had 2 hours down for this. Okay, didn't use 2 hours, I used 3. Maybe next week, if it's something I do all the time, like a meeting at work or some other special project that I'm going to be working on for a while, okay, that's a 3-hour thing. Oh, okay, I put down, 2 hours to do the laundry, I'm doing it in 45 minutes. Okay, how can that extra hour and 15 minutes be used somewhere else in my life? That's the same thing with creating your life plan, is if it took you, let's say, 5 years to get a PhD, somehow you did it in 3. I don't know how, but you did it, but you did it in 3. You were a fast typer and you got your dissertation done and they loved it. What do you do with the other 2 years? Do you go back and do continuing education? Do you just sleep? Do you go into a sleep pod? It's like, what do you want to do to maximize that time? You also want to think about, and this goes to drafting your plan handout, is take stock of the resources that you have. Because you're not going to be successful doing really anything in your life without some kind of resource. Whether it's an intangible resource like a piece of paper, or a tangible resource like a thesis advisor, to push your goals forward. You want to ask yourself, what items, what people, what places are key to my success in this area? For finances, for example, I'm going to need a calculator, some paper, some pencils, lots of pencils, and I need a financial advisor and my partner to help me in that area. I can't do it by myself. I've proven to myself I can't do it on my own, but there are people around me that say, hey, I'm good with this. I can support you through whatever challenges you might be having in that area, and you integrate them into the plan. More often than not, and I've been guilty of this, you create a plan, you get to a point in the plan where you don't know what to do, and then you ask a person, oh, I need help me with this paper that's due in a day. What can you do? When at the start of the semester you could have said, oh, okay, my friend Kyle is good with Civil War history, and I knew that the final paper was about a Civil War battle 12 weeks ago, and I waited 11 weeks and 6 days to let my friend know, who has his own life and his own plans and his own goals in mind, that now I need him to help me as an afterthought versus saying, I need your support from the start of the process. So being able to know who's around you and who you need around you is key in this area. You also want to create some measurable goals that align with the plan that you're making. For a lot of folks that ask me about planners and ways to do this, if this is new to you, the planner that I recommend is called the Momentum Planner, and it's available online. It's $12 a year, and you print it. You print it off. You could do it the whole year, print it off at one time. You could choose to print it off in quarters, whatever works for you, and it makes you do one very simple thing. So depending on where you're trying to go, if you're creative, if you're opening up a business, it asks the person to say, I want you to focus on 3 goals a day. That's it. 3 goals a week, and whatever those areas are. And that can be in web design, and figuring out an editorial calendar, and figuring out which homework assignments to tackle. And it brings it all together in a way that says, oh, okay, I have the time based on these things being the 3 things I need to work on today to work my day around it. It's not working me, I'm working it. I know I can handle doing this discussion post at 7 o'clock in the morning before I go to work. I know that I can handle calling my classmate about the group final project at 8:30 while I do a full day of work, while I take care of the other responsibilities that I have, while I eat lunch and go to the gym and do the other things that's going to keep me healthy through. Planner, you can expand that. You can figure out ways to expand using the planner, because it comes with a ton of extra inserts that you can print and use. And that could be your planner. For some folks, it's just a regular notepad with sections for each major area of life. I don't use the Momentum Planner anymore myself, but I do use the formats. So I create an area for whatever needs to be done, and I try to keep 3 to 5 goals a day, or a month or a quarter under each heading. So right now, here we've got a ton of grant applications due right now, and it's the end of the quarter. So when I go home, yay, writing grants, yes, tracks, all that good stuff. But in 3 months, if there's as they let us know what they're going to do, then I need to shift my ability to write grants throughout the year to make money and keep my salary paid in a manageable position, while I deal with the other emerging issues that are taking hold. Then you just apply that to where you're going with the general life plan. And again, if this is your whole life, so your education, your body, your home, your friendships, your other familial relationships, you want to be able to say, okay, based on where I was January 1st, okay, I didn't talk to my grandma except once every 6 weeks. Now we talk twice a week. Major progress made. Only talk to my mom every 3 months. Oh, we only talked once in 4 months. Okay, what are the problems there? You can begin to, based on the written plan you started with and the continual upkeep, be able to really keep yourself honest, get an accountability partner. I know it's played out, but it's so important when you're doing this and it's new to you, to have someone who buys into the process. either they're doing it themselves or they have been through it, and they're there to really hold you to a high degree of honesty about where you've been and how you want to stay on track to accomplish the goals. So that covers the track your results. And then you want to alter the course based on your results. Something I learned at a workshop quite a while ago is that feedback shouldn't be a thing. You always hear about the feedback loop and things, but thinking of it as feeding forward. So when you're getting information it's received back to you on